أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم افتح علينا حكمتك وانشر علينا رحمتك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام آمنت بالله الواحد الأحد الحق المبين الذي لا شريك له وكفرت بما سواه ربي يسر ولا تعسر ربي تمم بالخير وبه نستعين. We will cover the first migration to Abyssinia, inshallah, today. That's the topic for today. So we'll begin with what circumstances really led to this migration to Abyssinia. Why, Muslims, they decided to go to Abyssinia. Why Abyssinia? How this came about? So we'll try to understand this from various angles. The why question is, simply put, it is, the pressure that Muslims were under. So if the enemies are not allowing you to breathe, what are you going to do? There are two options, right? One, you're going to fight, which is, the option is war, violence. And the other option is you need to find a peaceful exit, get rid of that, conflict zone. So migration to Abyssinia, literally, it's a peaceful exit from that conflict zone. So Prophet ﷺ really, although he was in need of, numerically speaking, people, right? There is only a handful of people around him at that time. Maximum you can talk about 200, if you exaggerate, 300 people around him at that time. Very small community of believers. If you, remove the number of women, vulnerable people, it's a very small community at the end of the day around the Prophet ﷺ. But this community is under extreme pressure. So Prophet ﷺ he's walking on the streets. If you remember the story of Yasir family, for instance, he is seeing them being tortured. He is seeing them being physically abused. And he is even seeing them, some of them being killed, martyred. What he was saying, Sabran ala Yasir. Be patient, O family of Yasir. Inna maw'idakumul jannah. Your final destination and the place that we are going to unite is paradise. He can't do much, because at that moment, when in those early stages, taking a risk of responding, retaliating, it risks the message to die at the infancy. It is also, and most importantly, I want to really underline this, even if he had the power, he wouldn't resort to violence, because it's against his mission. He has something to do with words, with convincing people. He has a lot to offer humanity. So it's not just about these 300 people, how you, sustain in that setting. He is going to set a precedent for peoples to follow, generations to come after the Day of Judgment. So he is well aware of his responsibility, his mission, what Islam is about. It has a lot to offer humanity. So, and it's not about violence, it's not about killing people, it's not about retaliation. So Prophet ﷺ, he, on those days, in this 5th year, he also received a revelation from which is in the Quran, is in the Surah Al-Ankabut. Ya ibadiya alladhina amanu inna ardi wasi'ah fa iyaya fa'budun. So, O my servants who believe, Ya ibadiya alladhina amanu, directly addressing these people who believed. Inna ardi wasi'ah. So if they are not allowing you to breathe here, if this place is narrow for you, the earth is vast. Inna ardi, my earth, Allah's earth is spacious, it's very vast. And, فَإِيَّايَ فَاعْبُدُونَ. Migrate to find a place that you can freely worship me. Worship me alone. If they're not allowing you to worship me here on this land, then, go out. So Prophet ﷺ, he is always directed by revelation. He doesn't make decisions on his own. Most of the time he receives a revelation, gives him a clear guidance what to do, particularly in those critical moments. So he received this revelation, and the atmosphere is coming to an unbearable situation in Mecca. So he pointed his community, and he made this, historic statement. He said, go to Abyssinia. There is a ruler, which in his land, no one is wronged. He rules with justice. So go to Abyssinia, and this person is going to protect you. There is no injustice. He is not going to allow, tyranny, oppression on his land. This is where the migration to Abyssinia came about. Following the order or guidance of the Quran and the Prophet ﷺ, in the first instance, 11 or 12 men, 4 or 5 women, they set forth to Abyssinia. It's very interesting. The story is we are talking about this like a story. It's like a nice anecdote. But let's remember, we are talking about 6th, 7th century of Arabia, right? Where there is no airplane. There is no, transportation that we have. And this person, the first group of migrants, there are, 4 or 5 women, families it means, because couples, husband and wife, like Prophet's daughter, Ruqiyya, and her husband, Uthman ibn Affan, is among them. So families, women they are escaping, they are leaving this city, but Allah's help is with them. If you are on the side of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He always helps. If you have full trust in Him, He makes things easy. So it was ultimately a very difficult, journey. But when they went to the Shu'aib port, Allah prepares the things, conditions for them. There is a ship ready to go. They are being chased, and they are about to catch them. Meccans are chasing these people. They took the ship, they left, and Meccans, they came to the port. No way they can catch them anymore. So they are saved. But the journey in itself, it's almost a 20 days journey, 1,000 kilometers, bird eye distance from Mecca to Abyssinia. It's not, neighboring tribe or city. It's another country. Under those circumstances, 20 days journey is very difficult, and they are escaping from this, criminals, really, because once you are leaving, it basically means you are vulnerable. When they catch you, they can do anything. They are already torturing Muslims. They are under extreme pressure already. So ultimately they went, and I'll come to the thing later, a bit of analysis of these people later. But, and I'll also ask why Abyssinia? Why Prophet ﷺ asked them to go there, not to Ta'if, for instance. Why not in the first instance to Medina? But Prophet ﷺ preferred Ta'if. So there is a wisdom there. There is a strategy there as well. So I'll come to that. But shortly after this first thing, this was a bit of a shock to Meccans, because the number is relatively speaking small. They did not take action in the first instance. And things are developing very quickly, rapidly developing. This happened in the month of Rajab, Sha'ban, Ramadan. In the Ramadan, or between these 3 months, Prophet ﷺ, for the first time, according to Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he recited a chapter in the Kaaba publicly during the day. Normally he recites the Quran, but it is most of the time at night, because night prayer is at the beginning of the call. There is early morning prayer and night prayers 2 times a day. He doesn't really go out and publicly recite. That's what we discussed previously. That's what secret call is about. So Prophet ﷺ, for the first time, he recited a chapter, and the chapter was Surah An-Najm. And this chapter ends with a verse where you need to do the prostration. It has a sajda verse at the end, the very last verse of this chapter. The chapter is amazing. When it's recited, when najmi idha hawa, ma dalla sahibukum wa ma ghawa, wa ma yantiqu anil hawa, in huwa illa wahyun yuha, allamahu shadidul quwa, dhu mirratin fastawa. Imagine, this is being recited by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the verses ends, now go to prostration and worship him alone. So Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he went to prostration. Meccans who were gathered when they heard recitation of the Prophet, they couldn't stop themselves. They went to prostration with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All the Meccans who are present, except for one person, and that is Umayyah ibn Khalaf. This person did not go to prostration because he was very thick, like very chubby man. He took a dust put on his head. He even was affected in a way, like he is doing that prostration in his own way. Tragically speaking, this incident reached to Abyssinia as a rumor that all Meccans, including Abu Jahl, Utbah, Shayba, Umayyah ibn Khalaf, they went to prostration with the Prophet ﷺ. False news, rumors, because people noticing this from distance, perhaps they thought that they all embraced Islam. It's a stage, perpetrated by Meccans. But there is this, because of that close connections, you remember, we talked about business travels, interactions of Meccans with Romans, with Persians, with Abyssinia before. So news are traveling there, It's a very much a globalized, I used that word at the beginning, if you can recall. It's the global beginning of a globalization, really. The timing of the Prophet's, emergence in Mecca at that time, it's really, beginning, and it really represents that interaction very, very clearly. So the news reached there, and Muslims, once they heard these people, they went to prostration with the Prophet ﷺ. They came back, assuming that they all embraced Islam. But when they neared Mecca, they realized that situation is worsened. Not Meccans, they embraced Islam. And this incident is also, is the incident where people, they talk about the Gharanik incident, that satanic versus, matter that is being discussed, which, claims that when Prophet ﷺ was reciting these verses, he also praised Lat, Uzza, Manat, which are the goddess, idols of Meccans. Meccans themselves as well, they said, we didn't went to prostration because we believed in him. We went to prostration because he praised our gods. It is, that incident of satanic versus or Gharanik incident where, there are some reports that Prophet ﷺ also mentioned some birds which they kind of attribute sanctity. In our sources, it is clearly documented that it's a false, fabricated report. Prophet ﷺ did not mention them in the way they are recording. He recited the verse, وَمَنَاةَ الثَّالِثَةِ الْأُخْرَى, whatever the verse Surah Najm is saying at the moment. They said he praised them, and then Allah abrogated those things. I don't think we should even give value to discuss it any further. The chapter itself contradicts to that. Like Prophet, whose sole message is to bring the revelation, recite the revelation, be the trustworthy, messenger, delivering them that message of God. It's impossible that he would recite or put something in between to make them closer or soften the hearts of Meccans. His sole duty is to fight against idol worship, these false gods that exist in that land. It's impossible that he is going to talk about them anyway. So our sources are very clear on that. Many of the scholars like Imam Aini, Imam Radi, Imam Qurtubi, they kind of have a very detailed analysis of those reports, and they said these are baseless accusations. It's false, narratives that are produced to claim certain things which has nothing to do with what happened there. But what really happened is Meccans, they are moved by the recitation of the Prophet ﷺ. They couldn't even stop themselves, to the extent they went to prostration with the Prophet, and this message or this incident reached to Abyssinia as if Meccans, they all embraced Islam, which caused the return of the first group of Muslims to come back. So once they came, they decided to stay or enter Mecca. Few of them, they returned, but majority they came. But situation worsened, as we said. The tension is already accelerating. So Prophet ﷺ asked them to go again. In this incident, in the second migration to Abyssinia, this is shortly after. The first one is happening in the 5th year. This one is happening towards the end of the 5th year of prophethood, or in the early months of the 6th year of prophethood. In the second group, 83 men, 18 women, 101 or so. The number will slightly differ in the sources. Sometimes, 85 or 17 women is mentioned. That's not a big deal. Around 100 and 110 people, let's say, roughly speaking, they this time migrated to Abyssinia. And in this second group of migrants, there is Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. He is leading this caravan, this second group. It's a massive, compared to the first group, it's a large size of believers this time. And Ja'far is appointed as a spokesperson, as a thing, leader of the second group. So here is something important to note. In the first group, the group was led by Uthman ibn Affan, who is Prophet's son-in-law. The second group is being led by Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, who is Prophet's cousin. So and when you scan the entire Sirah, you will see a pattern which talks a lot to us as Muslims, or to leaders of the Muslim community, or leaders of the nations that are led by Muslims. So what is the point here is, when there is a risk, when there is something that you need to pay a big price, always Prophet's family or Prophet himself is at the forefront. This is a very risky mission, right? In both occasions, they are being chased. Their life is in danger. But what is there leading this community? Who are those people? Prophet's own family members, very close relatives, or if he is present, he himself is the first target all the time. We will see this later on in Medina, when these battles or Sirahs, these expeditions are part of the story. You will see always Prophet ﷺ appointed his relatives. There is nothing to gain, a lot to lose. There is no promotion, there is no power. It's all about danger, risking your life. You're going to sacrifice something. So Prophet ﷺ is always there at the forefront, or his family members are at the forefront. When there is a time that they are going to gain money, gain power, you don't see prophets or Prophet's family there in his life. A lot to tell us. So this is a great lesson that we can take from this incident. So what happened? Before what happened, let's talk about the demographic of the first migrants. So we are talking about two migrations: first migration to Abyssinia and second migration to Abyssinia. So when you look at the people, what do you think? Who are the people who migrated? Like, people assumes that because there is a lot of persecution, these poor slaves, they happen to go. There is nothing to support them, protect them, this and that. So remember the Darul Arqam incident. Similarly, those who migrated to Abyssinia, they are very powerful people. They are leaders of Mecca, or members of those leading tribes in Mecca. They are not poor or slave people, apart from one or two, three people. It's not more than 5, those who are poor. They are all senior individuals. So if I just name the first group, for instance, you will see, second group is not much different than this one. Uthman ibn Affan, very wealthy person in Mecca throughout his life. His wife, Ruqayya, prophets, they both are coming from a very noble family. So they are not poor, they are not, from the lower strata of the community. Abu Huzaifa ibn Utbah. Utbah is one of the leading figures in Mecca. Abu Huzaifa is his son. And his wife, Sahla, is also from the same, aristocrat family. Zubayr ibn Awam, another great, very wealthy member. Mus'ab ibn Umair, is very, very rich family. We talked about Mus'ab some weeks ago. The richness, like the clothes he's wearing and the perfume that he's wearing comes from all the way from Yemen at that time. It's like special order for him because of the family. Amr, Abu Salama, Abdurrahman ibn Auf, Abu Salama, Salama, from Abu Jahil's tribe, from Bani Makhzum tribe, they both. Abdurrahman ibn Auf, very well known, merchant. Uthman ibn Maz'un. Like, all these individuals, they are all from the cream, the aristocrat, the highest rank in their respective tribes. And when we look at the tribes they belong to, and this is what caused Meccans a lot of frustration, because they are all from different tribes and leaders of those communities, or children of the leaders of those communities. This really frustrated them. So they said, we cannot tolerate that. We need to find a solution for this. So immediately they took an action, and they noticed that, if this message has resonated with these people and they are now out of Mecca, that basically means we can't stop this person. We can't stop this person. We need to bring them back and solve this problem here in Mecca. It shouldn't go out. That was the frustration that they are going to now send Amr Amr ibn Al-Aas, which is considered as the great mind, a genius of Arabs. So that's how he is described in the sources. There are few individuals, they are known as the genius person among all Arabs. Amr ibn Al-As is considered one of them. So they sent Amr ibn Al-As and Amr ibn Umayyah, Abdullah ibn Abi Rabi'a, to ask the return of these migrants from the Negus, from Najashi, the ruler of Abyssinia. Another important thing is Amr ibn Al-As has a very good relationship with the ruler, with Najashi. He's a personal, friendship they have already because of this trade caravans and whatsoever. So they really picked a genius mind, because we know his life, right? Amr ibn Al-As, before and after Islam. So he is the conqueror of Egypt. You know what he did during the caliphate of Ali radiallahu anhu. He's a very significant, in terms of politics, undoubtedly a genius man. And he has a very close connection to the ruler. So now we are coming to this. So this fact that they are from all tribes, very well educated people, senior leaders or their children in the society, as I said, this really frustrated Meccans. They said we need to solve this and we need to bring them back. And they're not now even satisfied that, you are not allowing them to breathe. Let them go. If you have a problem with them, let them go wherever they want, but they are not. This is also the mentality of the oppressors, or the mentality of, the challenge between faith and disbelief is something different. Because this message is going to continue, they have a problem with that. It's not a problem. Their problem is not those individuals. Even in some cases, you see that in the story, other prophetic stories, not only in the prophet's story. So they would say to Musa, I don't have problem with you. I have problem with your Lord. That's what they say, literally. Ask your Lord, they say, why this is the case. So that is an indication that the fact that there is one God who is in charge of everything, that disturbs them. Or if you look from the perspective of shirk, kufr and iman, disbelief and belief, that is the problem with them. So they can't tolerate that. So the challenge or the struggle between evil and good is an ongoing struggle. So they said we need to solve this. So when they are sending these two people, Amr ibn Al-As and Abdullah ibn Abi Rabi'a, to Abyssinia, they also, they're bringing a wealth with them, lots of gifts, valuable items, and they are very smart in lobbying. So what they are going to do, they are going to lobby with the people around the king, around the Najashi, his advisors, bishops, religious people, give them a lot of gifts. We are going to ask something, support me. Lobbying, literally. They do that as well. They don't really hesitate to invest wealth to spend on this cause. It is wrong, but for them, that is the only solution to stop, belief or iman spreading across people. So you'll probably know the story. So the following day or so, they are going to appear in the court of Najashi. So when he enters, everybody stands up, except these Muslims. Whoever is present there. So Amr ibn Al-As, very smart man, he prompts the Najashi. He really finds a thing. He starts talking against them, and he said, look, even when you entered, they didn't even stand up. They don't show respect. This is the criminals. They escaped from our land. So we're asking return of these people. So he was speaking, but as the Prophet ﷺ said, this ruler is a just ruler. He's not going to make up his mind with what Amr said only. He said, let me listen to what these people are saying. And in that occasion, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, he started to speak. It's an amazing speech delivered in this court. Extraordinary speech. Don't forget, Ja'far was around the age of 20 at this moment. Very young companion. But Prophet ﷺ, he appointed him. He is leading this community. We have a letter that I'm going to talk about in a moment, which clearly says, to Najashi, I'm sending a group of believers led by my cousin, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. It's very clearly mentioned that he is the leader of this community. So this speech is long. I'm not going to quote that. This is what Salama narrates. It's 3-4 pages in our sources. The entire details of this conversation. Salama is later on going to be Prophet's wife. At this time, remember I named 5 individuals. One of them was Salama and Abu Salama. They are from Bani Makhzum tribe, I said. Abu Jahl's tribe. So she was present. She is narrating this story to us. So Ja'far said, "Oh people," so I'm going to just quote a very small portion of his speech. Extraordinary though. "We were a people of ignorance." So Ayyuh al-Malik, he begins with that very, very famous speech. "O king, we were people of ignorance, worshipping idols, eating carrion, committing disgraceful acts. We broke family ties, mistreated guests, and oppressed the weak. Then Allah sent us a messenger known for his lineage, for his truthfulness and trustworthiness." So he talks about their state before the Prophet ﷺ, and he talks about who the Prophet is, and then he talks about what he brought to them. In a way, how they are going to transform from this darkness to the light, from collapse in morality to high virtues of morality. So he makes that comparison very clear to the ruler. He called us to worship God alone and abandon the idols of our ancestors. When Quraysh tortured us, our prophet instructed us to seek refuge in your land, knowing you are a just ruler. It continues, it's very, very powerful speech that he is delivering, but he is underlying on certain things that we discussed before, which is about, remember, worship of God or pillars of faith, mannerism, akhlaq that he brought to these people, the collapse of the society and what he offered in terms of, good relations and whatsoever. And the ruler ultimately, he convinced that he cannot give these people back because he can't see much there. When the thing, Amr ibn Al-Aas, he started to, kind of pressure him, Ja'far also asked 3 interesting questions. He said, ask him these 3 questions. Are we slaves escaped from their masters? So at that system, around that time, slave belongs to Sayyid, belongs to the master. If they are escaping from their masters, they should be returned. So he's saying, are we slaves that we escaped? And he's requesting return to our masters? No. Did we kill anyone and flee to avoid qisas, retribution? So if you kill someone, you need to compensate for that. Retribution. Qisas is the hukum, is the rule at that time. He says, did any one of us killed anyone? So they are coming and requesting so they can apply qisas? No. Did we plunder anyone's belonging? You know, are they theft? So they are requesting them back so they can pay back. So no. So what's wrong then? Why should we return these people? So the ruler is convinced that no, he's not going to return these people. So that day ended, and this kind of thing, scene is closed for the first day. He wasn't successful. The following day, Amr ibn Al-Aas, he thought he's very clever. He requested to be heard again and continue with the thing. That night he decided to ask another critical question. He's going to now tempt the ruler with something that he is quite sensitive. So this is a very loyal, very sincere Christian person. So he said, ask them about Jesus. They are not saying some good words that you will be pleased with. Amr ibn Al-Aas is asking Najashi to ask them about their beliefs, about Isa alayhi salam. What I said is, if you are on the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is your helper. Allah is always with the people who are righteous. Just before they left Mecca, Surah Maryam was revealed. Surah Maryam was revealed. When Najashi is asking a question about Isa alayhi salam, he is asking a question that he is well prepared. And he is not going to shy away reciting what is being revealed. So he simply recited a passage from Surah Maryam. He began with this, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَاذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ مَرْيَمْ. So that passage, another beautiful passage from the Quran, when he recited, Najashi started to cry. His bishops, his advisors, they all started to cry. And sources says that, they are weeping, and they're all thin beards, because they all had beards, long beards, it was wet because of the cry. And then he turned to Amr and he said, between what he is saying and what we believe, and he took a very small item from the ground, or draw a very thin line between what he said and what we believe. There is not a difference, like this line that I have drawn. And he said, even if you give me a word of gold, I'm not going to return these people. And he said, go and freely live in my land. So all the efforts of Amr, they were, they didn't bring any result. So he returned to Mecca empty-handed. And this person is Najashi is not going to stay in there. He is going to build a very close relationship with Muslims, particularly with Ja'far. And shortly after this incident, Ja'far and his wife, Umays, they had, Fatima bint Umays, they had a son, which they named Abdullah. Around the same time, Najashi is going to have a son. And he said, what did you name your son? He said, Abdullah, because our Prophet loved this name. And he said, I'm naming my son as Abdullah too. This person, he embraced Islam. His story is very long. He sent a letter to the Prophet ﷺ. He said, if you want, I am ready to abandon my kingdom and come and serve you. So, and we clearly know, years later, in the 7th year of Hijrah, later on in Hijrah, in Medina, one morning, Prophet ﷺ, he asked his companions, get up, stand up, we are going to perform janazah for my brother. and he performed Salatul Ghaib, the janazah that you perform from distance for Najashi, because he learned that he passed away. So that's the connection Prophet has. Here is the critical question, and here is something that you probably haven't heard of. How did Prophet ﷺ know Najashi? Where this idea is coming from, that, go to that land, go to Abyssinia. Why Abyssinia? Why Najashi? Why he's saying, how he knew him that he is a just ruler. He's very confident with the way he speaks of him. So this is something we need to repeatedly mention when we talk about Sirah. Prophet ﷺ, he knew people very, very well. He knew his companions, his friends very well. He knew his enemies very well too. And this is where his strategies are coming from. That is a true leadership as well, knowing people very well. But the story with the Najashi and with the Prophet ﷺ, how he knew him, is a different story. It's a very long story. It's a maths question, math. You need to have a math, how to calculate things and make solve a problem. So Najashi, when Prophet ﷺ, he is sending his second group of companions, just before he sent them, he sent someone by the name of Amr ibn Al-Aas. This person is a very critical name, Amr ibn Al-Aas. He sent this person with a letter to Najashi saying that I am sending, the language is very simple, very friendly too. Like he's saying, I'm sending Amr, my cousin, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, with group of believers to you. Look after them well, protect them, like as if you're speaking to your friend. Very, very friendly language he is using. So Amr ibn Al-Aas is a very interesting choice. And how the Prophet ﷺ knew him as well is a big question to ask. So time to time I was talking about this big Sirah project that I'm privileged to part of it. So this is one of the key findings of this research. So it's an extraordinary information to explain this incident, how Prophet ﷺ had, he came to know Najashi, who this person, Amr ibn Al-Aas, how these things are evolving in a way that Meccans, they were not anticipating. Like when they said Amr ibn Al-Aas to Abyssinia, they were confident that, he will bring them back. But everything collapsed and nothing is working. Although Amr is trying very hard, very smart maneuver he is taking, still, it doesn't bring any result. So the question is in this person, Amr ibn Al-Aas. So this person is from Bani Damr tribe. The tribe is located in a valley closer to where Battle of Badr occurred. 306 kilometers from Mecca, 40 kilometers from Medina. It is also a tribe where Prophet's mother is buried. pbuh is part of this tribe or neighborhood. And this person also belongs to a tribe which is Abu Dharr al-Ghifari belongs to. Ghifar is a sub-clan of Damr tribe. Remember Abu Dharr al-Ghifari's story we mentioned a while ago? He is literally one of the first 10-15 believers. Prophet ﷺ said to him, what? Go back to your hometown, and continue there until you hear that our message is spread. So through Abu Dharr al-Ghifari, we clearly know that in the earliest days, 80 people embraced Islam immediately. So this Amr ibn Umayyah ad-Damri is belonging to the same tribe. What's interesting is Prophet ﷺ's cousin, like Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, from another father, another uncle, Harith, is married to someone from Bani Damr tribe, Suhaila. So from the same tribe. What makes it even more interesting is when Prophet ﷺ was with wet nurse, in the land of Bani Sa'd, Halima Sa'diyya, around the same time, a baby from Bani Damr tribe was also a milk son for the same lady. So we are solving maths problem, right? Still solving. There is a lot more to mention, but I'll stop there for now. There is a lot other connections, but I'm just going to stop there. That is one thing. So this is the connection he would have with the Prophet ﷺ. So there is a high chance here, like Prophet sent him as an ambassador or letter with him to Najashi. We don't have doubt about that. That's recorded. But how he knew him, these things that I just mentioned really explains that, it's almost impossible that he wouldn't know him. He would, this is on the path to Medina. From Mecca to Medina, you pass through that village anyway. So on the way to Medina. Let's park there. Now go to Najashi. Najashi's father is Abjar. So this person was killed. So between the 6,000 and 610, when prophethood came to the Prophet ﷺ, around that time, or even earlier, there is a ongoing instability, conflicts in Abyssinia as well. So around this time, this person, Abjar, was killed. Abjar is Ashama's father. Ashama is the Najashi that we were talking about. Najashi is a honorific name, like sultan, like king. It's like, for Romans, you talk about Herakl. Herakl is not the name. Like this, it's a title. So name is different. So they are all Najashi, like Firaun. Firaun is not a name, or Nemrud is not a name. So similarly, Najashi means the ruler, sultan of Abyssinia. So his name is Ashama. His father's name is Abjar. So his father was killed in those, conflicts around that time. And he has only one son, who is Ashama, who is the Najashi that we are talking about. But his uncle, he overthrown them, and he got the thing. He ascended to the throne, and now he has, he needs to establish stability. He has two options as well: kill him, Abjar's son Ashama, or find another solution. He was a bit young, inexperienced according to some sources, so he decided to sell him as a slave. So he was sold as a slave to Arabs who are from Bani Damra tribe that we were just talking about. So he spent literally his childhood in the village that Prophet's mother was buried, in the village that Amr ibn Umayyah ad-Damri lived. And he was a friend of Amr ibn Umayyah ad-Damri from childhood. What happened is, later on, his uncle, his name is Gersem or Gersem, I don't know how it's pronounced. There was a turbulent time again, and he was killed. His children are in fight now for the throne. So what they decided, the Abyssinians, they decided to, solve this problem by bringing that child, only child, and get rid of these children who are fighting for the leadership. So they came all the way to Arabia. They found this boy. They took him back, and Ashama became a king. Amr ibn Al-Aas is Ashama's friend, Najashi's friend. Prophet ﷺ is going to send him as an ambassador, a letter with him to Najashi. Literally, his friend is coming. And Amr ibn Umayyah is not an unknown person. So we know a lot about him, how smart he was, quick-witted, very capable person. A lot is known about him as well. So now, these pieces of puzzle come together. The short answer to this is Prophet ﷺ, he knew this person through Amr ibn Umayyah very well, who this person is. That is one answer. Second answer, we don't have solid evidence for this, but Prophet ﷺ, after his migration to Medina, or even during migration, he visited his mother's grave 4 or 5 times. Someone like Prophet, who has a lot of wealth and who has been doing international business, knows the mother's grave and would not visit at all. Is it possible? Just a question there. There is even a possibility that Prophet ﷺ has been there, maybe even met with this person, Najashi. Just a possibility. We don't have a solid evidence. But with Amr ibn Umayyah, we have lots of evidence that he is a friend of Najashi. And Prophet is sending him, asking and Najashi, this is what is important. He was sold as a slave. He knows what slavehood, he knows what oppression means. Why he is a just ruler? He has gone through a lot in his life. He has matured through a lot of adversity. He didn't come to that position overnight. He didn't inherit very easily like any other king, in that, setting they inherit. So it's very critical information that Prophet ﷺ, he knew him very well. He knew, how he rules. And he also has someone who has a good connections. So this tribe is going to play a lot of critical role. In the Battle of Badr, normally even Muhajirs are not there, right? 14 people from Bani Damra tribe are part of the Battle of Badr as a companion. How this could happen? The first tribe to sign an agreement with the Prophet after Hijrah is this tribe as well. Like all these things comes together when you put this at the center of the picture and collect the data. So it really informs us a lot in many ways. But Prophet ﷺ also strategically, he has chosen this land because that is kind of a spared power base for Muslims, right? When you look at the stories of Muhajirs to Abyssinia, they're not coming back immediately. Some of them, the major thing, leader Ja'far ibn Abi Talib and 14, 15 people who are the, core of this group, they will come after the thing, Khaybar, the last encounter with the Jews in Medina. And Prophet ﷺ would make a remark, what should I be happy now? Should I be happy with the conquest of Khaybar or with the return of Ja'far? So it's a very critical time that they are coming when there is peace completely almost established in Medina. Up until that moment, they are kept there in that land deliberately. We are talking about Hijrah, right? Hijrah is a destiny of believers. It's a destiny of believers. If you believe, people will not let you alone. You will go through a lot of hardship and difficulty. Hijrah in this case might look like an exit from persecution. Not at all, actually. It is exchanging hardship with another hardship, right? It's not easy to leave your land, leave your family, leave your children, leave your friends, leave your hometown, everything behind, and go to a land you have no idea about. It's very difficult. But this becomes a means of spiritual growth. It is part of the journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are not simply changing a location. You are making a sacred, relocation of your state, physically and spiritually. So once you do all these things for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَمَنْ يُهَاجِرْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ يَجِدْ فِي الْأَرْضِ, whoever migrates on earth for the sake of Allah, مَغْرَمًا, will find bounties, blessings. If you really truly know what you're doing, and this generally comes after a lot of hardship. These Muslims, they're not migrating in the first month or in the first year. This is fifth, sixth year where they have been already gone. They have gone through a lot of persecution, a lot of torture. So being able to migrate with that state of mind for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to live your religion freely, and that's what the verse was saying. أَلَمْ تَكُنْ أَرْضُ اللَّهِ فَإِيَّايَ فَاعْبُدُونَ. You're migrating, the earth is vast, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to find a right place to propagate the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and worship Him alone. So in that case, it becomes a very sacred doing and mission, and these people are not going to stop there. Their stories is well recorded. They're going to stay there 6th year, 7 years there, almost 7 years after Hijrah, 13 to 15 years of difficult time in that land. How they persevered, what kind of stories they have. We know that those stories as well. They have children there, they raised a generation there, they lived as a minority there, they lost their friends there. One of the significant companions was Ubaydullah ibn Jahsh, Prophet's auntie's son, Zainab bint Jahsh, which Prophet's wife, her brother. He actually converted to Christianity in that land and died as a Christian. So it's not easy, their stories are not easy. They have gone through a lot of hardship, a lot of difficulty, but this was necessary. You need to sacrifice everything when the time comes, but to be able to do that, you need to internalize these teachings, the aqidah, the tawheed, the faith, the pillars of belief, everything, and then it becomes some sort of an ease for you. So, as I said, it's a destiny of believers. They will always, we are all migrants ultimately, right? We are separated from our hometown that we yearn for, paradise, Jannah. That is our hometown. We are already in a foreign land. Here we are yearning to unite with our Lord. We are yearning to unite with our hometown. So the journey for us is an ongoing journey, and separating, not having lots of attachment to where we are is really important. Why we are here, giving answer to difficult question, what is my role here? So why Meccans are afraid? Because they know that these companions, they're not going to stop. What frustrated them is, the mission and message they have embraced is a very important one. These people are going to make change. And even if they are in that land 1,000 kilometers away, it is a threat to our status quo. It is a threat that, our idols are going to go one day. We need to protect these. The only solution is bring them back and kill them. That's what they wanted. So killing is not easy. You can't directly do that, but they're going to resort to that. Shortly after, in next talk or so, we'll talk about boycott. Then after boycott is how they plotted to kill the Prophet. So to solve the problem in their mind, completely. So ultimately, this is not easy, and believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, believing in His message, requires a lot of sacrifices. And migration to Abyssinia is one of the greatest sacrifices they made. And who made this? Pretty much everyone. Two-thirds of the Muslims, they gone. That's also another message, that this is not about numbers, this is not about individuals. Prophet ﷺ is not planning to increase the number of followers. His plan is a divine plan. It is something else. That's why he doesn't have a fear that, people around him, their number diminishes. He's not having a fear that this is a threat to his message. He's confident this is going to continue. So he keeps from where he left. He sends them, but he continues. Inshallah, we will continue how he continued under such difficult circumstances, inshallah, in next talk.